I believe that a lot of men say that they want to lead when what they really want to be is in charge. And those are two very different things. Being in charge or being, quote, the boss means that you have a title that signifies the authority that you have based on a certain position that you were given or that you applied for and received. But we all, or most of us, have experienced bosses or people who were in charge who had no clue what they were doing. They had no skills, they had no ability to work with people. And a lot of times, those companies where those people are employed, they begin to fail. And that boss, that person in charge, has to quickly be replaced because they didn't have any leadership skills. So a leader, on the other hand, is not just somebody with a title. In fact, a whole lot of leaders don't ever get the title. They're actually the person who can have a vision of what needs to get done, have a plan of how it's going to happen, and have the discipline and the ability to influence others to inspire them to want to move toward that goal. So a leader is a person who isn't necessarily always worried about getting the credit. They're much more worried about, or much more concerned about, or much more focused on the job getting done, the task getting done. They're focused on success for everybody involved. And so, again, that goes back to this whole idea of being in charge, because sometimes the people that are, quote, in charge or the boss are the main people trying to take credit for things they didn't do, trying to use other people, and to manipulate other people and do all kind of underhanded and dirty things to get ahead. Whereas leaders, a lot of times, are those that are looking out for those that are on their level, below their level, and they're trying to actually bring out the best in others. They're not intimidated by others. They're not trying to sabotage others. They're not trying to humiliate others or put others in their place because they're not insecure. They know that their skills and their talents and their vision and their ability to work with people, they know that all those things actually belong to them. They're not scared of somebody finding out that they really are imposters, that they really don't have very much to offer. Whereas sometimes the people in charge, sometimes the people that are, quote, the boss, are very much afraid and very intimidated by the rising up and comers. And they want to hobble those people, humiliate those people, undermine those people, condescend to those people. So we see inner strength with a leader. We see inner weakness and immaturity with the person that's just in charge. And so I guess some of the people who talk the loudest about wanting to lead sometimes have the least leadership skills because they don't even understand what they're talking about, because they don't want to accept accountability. And that's a whole nother thing. Leaders accept accountability. Leaders look at themselves and reflect and are always trying to improve. And they're also willing to take feedback from others on their level, above their level, and their subordinates. And that's a whole nother thing about a leader. You can't be a good leader unless at one time you were able to be a good listener, a good follower. You were able to take orders. And that's again why some people who want to be in charge will never make good leaders, because the only reason they want to be in charge is because they feel that it means that they don't have to listen to anybody. And that whole idea of I don't have to listen is what's going to keep them from being a good leader, because listening is where you learn a lot of times. Listening is where you adapt. Listening is where you are able to adjust when things aren't working. But if you feel that you know everything and you don't feel like you need anything from anybody, then you become a solo operation, and a leader actually needs someone to lead. If you're a solo operation, then you're not a leader. Again, you might be in charge, but you're in charge of a idea or something that you're trying to get to work without the buy-in of people. So I think that we need to realize that a whole lot of people, especially men, that talk about wanting to lead have no idea what leadership is or what leading means. And really all they want to do is be in charge or be the boss. And that's what a lot of kids want. I'm going to be so glad when I grow up and nobody gonna tell me nothing. But when they get to be an adults, most kids that grow up to be mature adults realize that there's always somebody above you, that when you get to the next level, there's a next level and a next level and a next level. So that fantasy, most of us have to give it up, and we have to understand that there's always going to be someone that we have to listen to. And to keep that fantasy of never having to listen is very immature and very childish. May you walk in synergy. I believe that a lot of men say that they want to lead when what they really want to be is in charge. And those are two very different things. Being in charge, or being, quote, the boss, means that you have a title that signifies the authority that you have based on a certain position that you were given or that you applied for and received. But we all, or most of us, have experienced boss